record this so we can post it later. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the NCAA Athletes Can Get Paid Now What webinar brought to us by Dreamfield. Feel free to ask questions today. We've got a smaller group here, so jump in whenever you do have a question, and Corey and Jake can help with that. So I want to introduce today our main speaker, Corey Ncaa.
Hi, thanks, Ashley. Appreciate you guys having us back for round two. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce, first let me introduce Jake Hoving. Jake Hoving is with our organization with Dreamfield. Then we also have Jake Schreiber from the Florida Panthers, who we've been working hand in hand with to implement their FLA athlete program with the Florida Panthers and the Florida Atlantic University female athletes down here in Boca Raton. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start this off with share my screen here, and we're going to have a quick little slideshow and presentation, but be happy for anyone to kind of jump in and ask questions on the fly or stop me if they have anything to add or want to elaborate on. Otherwise, we'll keep it pretty casual here. We're not too, we're a pretty casual group. So hang tight. I'm going to go ahead and share this.
Corey, is there supposed to be some volume on that?
Hey, Corey, it looks like we're missing the sound to that video.
I'm sorry. I can hear it on my end.
I think it was a setting, but if you wanted to skip it, I can attach it and share it later with everybody if you want to do that.
That's what we'll do. Yeah, not a problem. So this is a brief intro on name, image, likeness. So name, image, and likeness started here in July, around the country, July 1st of 2021. So this is a pretty recently new adventure that we're all going on and that businesses are able to capitalize on. And we've seen organizations such as Mercedes-Benz, we've seen cryptocurrencies, we've seen organizations like the Florida Panthers and Miller's Ale House all taking part in this to use athletes as someone to generate advertising, right? So what we've seen a lot is actually the influencer marketplace has really been a boon for the athlete. So that was kind of what the presentation we've been talking about, and it's something that's been in the makings now for quite some time. We saw on July 1st a lot of the early adopters come out of the gate strong, hiring athletes on either major athletes that have major followers. We're talking about individuals that have few million or a few 100,000 followers on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter. And they're going ahead and promoting local businesses, large nationwide brands, or in the case of the Florida Panthers, was the first professional sports organization to also engage with collegiate athletes to promote their own brand or specific events. So the question comes up, why should we not go directly to the athlete? And that was something that we thought of when we were developing Dreamfield over the last year, was how do we connect in a safe and compliant manner the athlete with certain brands or even local mom and pop shops. So we took kind of an approach of other startups, we'll say kind of like an Airbnb. For example, Airbnb exists because they have people or individuals that own a home, and then other individuals that would like to rent time at that home. So we figured if we have athletes and companies or brands or businesses are going to want to rent effectively time is the inventory of the athlete, how do we do this in a simple way where people are not trying to track down an athlete through a direct message on Instagram or Twitter? Do they have an agent? A lot of times they don't have agents, or they have a manager that's helping them, but you don't really know who they are or how to get a hold of them. It really is a very inefficient process. We are agent friendly. We're not agents ourselves. We're just a platform connecting the businesses to the athlete. But we also are housing everything when it comes to the athletic department compliance. We're handling that with the actual university for the specific deals. We are also processing payment. This way, a business or a brand is not having to send a paycheck to multiple athletes, to one athlete. They don't have to make sure they home for the summer, or they back, they in Tennessee, Mississippi, do they move dorm rooms? We process all those payments directly through Stripe right into the athlete's wallet, into their account. We also are handling anything to do when it comes to the tax documentation. You have to disclose these payments, even if it's an in-kind contribution, not only to the university, but if it's over a certain dollar amount, you also have to give them, W-2s, W-9s, 1099s, you name it, you have to take care of this. So we do it all for the business and the athlete. So if an athlete signs one deal through the Dreamfield platform, they still get one tax document into the year. If they sign 30 deals through Dreamfield, they still get one tax document into the year. So if we just jump into the presentation and talk about why using smart contracting software like us is effective, is budget, first of all. Different brands have different needs or different wants. What you can do is you can go right to the Dreamfield website and you can either choose directly, the athlete of what they're charging for their time or for their social media presence. One of the other key things we do to help you make sure that we're working within your budget is to also make sure we're holding the money in escrow. This protects the athlete, but also protects the business. We have heard some kind of nightmare scenarios where either the athlete does what they're supposed to do, there was maybe no contract involved, and then they never get paid in the business, and then now it's trying to track down the business to get paid, whether through Venmo or PayPal or whatever it might be. Then on the flip side, we've actually heard nightmare stories where a business hasn't contracted officially with the individual athlete. They pay them, they send them some money, wherever it might be, and then all of a sudden they don't get what they need from the athlete, or it's not exactly what they expected, or it's a little bit different. So this way, at least we're the middleman. Dreamfield's the middleman in between the business and the athlete to make sure everyone goes home happy and everyone does what they're supposed to do. The other thing is the control. So like I was referring to earlier, you as a business can just hop on the Dreamfield platform, get verified as a business to make sure you are who you say you are, and then the athlete's already verified as well to make sure that you're actually hiring that athlete that you are choosing. You can either hire them directly through the platform with just a click of the mouse, or if you want something a little more intense, we offer what's called a campaign mode, and we're able to customize an entire program and make unique individual offers to athletes or through agents, whatever that deal may look like, and we can onboard those athletes. The automated contracts are also important because, again, it takes that out of the business's hands, takes it out of the athlete's hands, and we have these neutral contracts that we pop in all the information that the client wants and make sure it gets over to the athlete. When it gets to the athlete, it's then, if accepted, disclosed to the individual university where those athletes come from. So not only in a regulatory standpoint are we dealing with different state laws, we don't have any federal laws yet, but I think they're coming here sometime soon, but you have different state laws. And in states where there are no laws, you really rely heavily on the compliance department at the university to make the rules. So if you're in a state like the state of Florida, where we actually do have a state law, not only do you comply with state law, you also have to comply with that individual university's regulations and team rules as well. So there are a couple different layers, as Jay from the Panthers has found out. There are a couple different layers of approval and who does this and who does that. And then as this evolves over time, it is helpful to have someone like us at Dreamfield kind of being that middleman and making sure things go smoothly. Which leads me into my next point, the safety. Dreamfield, our major goal is to keep everyone in compliance. The last thing we want to do is harm an athlete or harm the reputation of the business. In these sensitive situations, if things are not done properly, you could run the risk of ruining an individual's eligibility with the NCAA. And that is the last thing anyone wants, is to have an 18 to 22 or 23-year-old young man or woman be disqualified from athletic competition for a few $100s or a couple $1,000s with a deal that maybe was not disclosed properly, or goes against team rules, or goes against NCAA bylaws, or even state law. So that's the last thing we want to do, is have anyone violating any of those layers of regulation. So we make sure we're working hand in hand with the compliance department, getting their approval, getting their blessing, and being able to move forward with the actual deal. So the platform the technology is great. The platform itself runs very smoothly. It's an open concept. So if you're a business or a brand, you can get onto the website, as I said, and you can choose you could choose different sports, different states. You can narrow it down based on, you can take a look at how many Instagram followers they have, what they're actually charging. So each athlete actually sets their own price. So we have individuals ever from like $25 an hour for an in-person event, all the way to $10,000 an hour if you're the starting quarterback and Heisman hopeful at Ole Miss. So it does vary, and usually it does vary on either the athletic prowess of the team or the individual, or also on how many social media followers they have on certain platforms. And we are seeing that that's kind of the main driver here in name, image, likeness over the past 3 or 4 months since it's been live. What we've seen, and here's a quick fact for you in stat, 88% of the deals done with collegiate athletes across the country since July 1st have been some form of social media based influencing marketing. Out of that 88%, that drives only half of the dollar amount the revenue generated for athletes across the country. So that means that only 12% is actually picking up 50% of the payments. And we're talking about big national TV commercials or branding opportunities where you're seeing individuals, and their ads up on Times Square. And, this is going on TV, like the quarterback from Alabama signed with Dr. Pepper, and he's doing TV commercials. That's where that large chunk of change is coming from. But there really is a tremendous value in the other 88% of the deals where it's a much smaller dollar amount. It's micro targeting based on a specific city or town. Maybe it's in Gainesville or Tallahassee, where they're doing social media influence and you showing up in person. That's really making up what that other 88% is. So again, it's open concept.
Boy, this is Dan. We lost.
You lost me?
Ashley Jackson, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him. Dan, it might have been your connection because on my end it was coming through okay.
Okay, I apologize. Go ahead.
No, thank you.
No problem. So with that, again, everything is done strictly through the platform. So the entire deal from beginning to end is done through Dreamfield. So what's the contracts, the secure payment, actually running of the campaign. So if you tell us, hey, look, we would like to potentially target athletes in the state of Florida, or even hyper targeting and say we only care about athletes at Florida State University, or maybe you only want female athletes at Florida Atlantic University, like Jake and the Florida Panthers did, we can target those down through our platform and you can choose those individuals. We can also put out a campaign where you say, hey, look, I would like athletes to apply to my campaign to see what it is if they'd be interested in working with my brand. So what we've seen a few times, like with Mercedes-Benz, for example, we put out a campaign. People applied, they said, we care about these individual geographic regions. They applied, we had a list of athletes, we take it back to the client and say, hey, here's a list of athletes on our platform that are interested in working or partnering with you. And from there, they can make a decision as to who they want to partner with. Maybe they get 40 or 50 applicants. They say, we only want to work with 5 or 6. And then go ahead and choose down who they want and process the contract, the tax documentation, everything right through our platform. So again, this is kind of just going over the primary use for businesses, whether it's the influencer campaigns, live events. We've seen a lot of in-person live events. People want to bring in, especially at restaurants. Restaurants really want to do in-person events to drive either, photo opportunities, fan meet and greets, the autograph events, Our first day one event on July 1st was with Miller's Ale House in Tallahassee, Florida, where McKenzie, Milton, the two other quarterbacks, so you had three quarterbacks, a tight end, I think, and an offensive lineman all came into Miller's Ale House on July 1st to host the first ever paid autograph signing in NCAA history. This was something that was illegal per NCAA bylaws for years, but on July 1st, it became legal. They all came in, they hosted an event, fans came in. It was actually only about 3 hours notice because of the way the law was working, and we had an announcement with the governor. There was a line out the door within 3 hours for individuals to come and sign autographs. They brought helmets, they brought pictures, replica, frames, they bought footballs and everything else, and all they want to do is meet the team and take a picture with them. And also Miller's Ale House was able to turn around and sell a couple pitchers of beer and a lot of zingers that night. So it was a really great event. And ultimately, it was explained to us from them that within the first month, they actually had about $300,000 in earned media alone just from the Miller's Ale House Tallahassee location from that event. So again, we can also work with enterprise businesses with large consumer brands like Florida Panthers or Mercedes-Benz, a couple other big companies and clients. We've worked with a couple of cryptocurrencies now with Lyft Token, Yummy Crypto, a couple other organizations that have wanted these large scale deals, either based on geography or an entire team deal. So this allows everyone to go on our website, find athletes that work with you, but also if you want something specific, we can go out and get those athletes as well on the platform to make sure everything runs safe and smoothly. So if you're a small business, the same thing goes. This goes for bringing in people to your location on site, whether you're in Boca Raton with FAU or you're in Naples with Florida Gulf Coast University. You can bring athletes into your business. Again, they can leading up to it. You can ask them to do a couple social media posts. Say, hey, next Tuesday, come see me. I'll be at X location at this time, and come and find me. I'll be there signing autographs and taking photos and doing a meet and greet. This way, it drives foot traffic and more eyes on your business. So again, these are some of the brands that we've worked with so far that have really seen great returns so far. And I'll tell you what, also, every time we see a deal come through, it is either local, regional, or even national news. It's such a hot topic, name, image, likeness, that every time something like this happens, it's typically big news. So you're getting a lot of earned media right off the bat. And that's something that everyone finds valuable. I know whether it was some of these, the cryptocurrencies, or even some of the restaurants were like, our money was brought back tenfold just in earned media. And I think the same thing goes to the Florida Panthers. The national media that they got from the first deal with De'Ara King, who's our business partner, and also hiring every single female athlete at Florida Atlantic University, not only was a tremendous value, but you saw tremendous, incremental returns on the earned media as well. So with that said, I'll leave it here for any questions. I know there's kind of a lot of information, but I know a lot. I guess I'll start with, one of the questions we always get is, why would a restaurant want to do this? We've seen a lot of restaurants want to do in kind. It's something that they prefer. I know it's cheap, it's easy, it's not as expensive if you're getting the individuals to come back into your restaurant. A lot of times these student athletes are looking for that, right? They're looking for, I'm okay getting paid in a gift card, whether it's at Miller's and you're giving me a $200 a month gift card, and I'm happy to come in and feed either my teammates that don't have the deal or take my girlfriend or my boyfriend to dinner or whatever it is, in exchange for some of these goods and services of the athlete promoting you on their business. We see it time and time again, just because, again, it's a win-win. The athlete gets value for the food, and it's obviously a lot cheaper for the restaurant itself to give a gift card rather than a cash value to come and eat at their restaurant for some form of promotion. But there are some potential traps when it comes to this, whether it's with compliance or taxes. We have heard of some restaurants that have ultimately come on board to Dreamfield that have said, oh, well, we were just paying the athletes, we were charging the athletes $1. Okay, you charge them $1 for their meal that should have cost probably $35 to $50. That's probably the quickest way to get that athlete marked as ineligible and lose their scholarship and lose their position on that team, and possibly have team punishments from the NCAA. You have to give them it's of value. It's the way that the law is set up and the bylaws from the NCAA. You have to provide something of value, and you have to disclose what that actual value is to the university. So if you're just having the football team come into your restaurant and eat essentially for free or charging them $1 and not disclosing that to the university, that still can run a risk of losing their eligibility and also business actually violating state law. And that's something that nobody wants. So we're able to actually process the gift cards through the Dreamfield platform and pass that along to make sure the value of that gift card is still being disclosed at 100% of the value, to make sure the athlete is still in compliance and the business is still in compliance. So again, it's our main goal is to make sure that everyone stays compliant. We're really a compliance technology software first. And then on the back end, we're actually on the front end, we're actually connecting the athletes with the brands to make sure that you're able to communicate effectively with them.
Corey, this is Dan. I have a question. Do you guys do consulting? Let's say I have a member restaurant that says, I don't understand this. It sounds good. Do you guys sit down with them and say, this is help them maybe put together a program or some ideas, who the athletes should be in their area? Or are you just the platform itself?
No, we do. We have a white glove service. We're running a campaign, and that's exactly what we did with Mercedes-Benz. It's exactly what we did with the Florida Panthers as well. And I'll even tell you this much for Mercedes-Benz. There was an individual. They're doing different geographic regions. So we launched LA with a UCLA volleyball player. Just yesterday, we announced Atlanta with a Georgia Tech quarterback. And then we have another upcoming event in New York City. And the individual that we were originally going to work with couldn't make it. The flights were a little weird for him to get there. So this individual had to back out yesterday. Within about 25 minutes, we had another athlete lined up of equal social media presence and value, who then is, going to be going and taking that person's spot up in New York City for this Mercedes-Benz event. So yeah, we do consult on these things all the time and what we think the value actually could be. For this much money, this is kind of the athlete or the team that you should be expecting to get. From the Florida Panthers kind of take over for a quick second and explain, how we actually did work that out with the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, so to kind of give some background on how we've worked with Dreamfield, because we kind of did two completely different deals as I see it. The first one we did with De'Ara King. The second one we did with all female athletes at FAU, or at least we offered them a deal. The first deal with De'Ara King for us is more of he has a massive brand and it's a bigger reach for us. And the FAU deal is more of a local, targeted reach. And I think what's so powerful about working with these athletes as, ambassadors or influencers is that, it's so much more authentic when it comes from them than it comes from us, right? We can advertise all day long about why you should come to a Panthers game, but when it comes from, an athlete that you follow or from a school that you really care about, you're more likely to see it come from them, be engaged with what they're saying, and we're more likely to get you out to a game. So Corey touched on a lot of, I think, key areas that have really helped us. Obviously, the number one thing was compliance, right? This has been on Corey and Dreamfield's radar for a long time, but for us, it just all of a sudden in July, I think it was, became available for brands to use, and we had no idea how to navigate this world. And Corey and his team have been phenomenal in making sure that we're doing things the right way. We're protecting the athletes and we're working with the schools. I think a couple other things that maybe Corey didn't bring up that have been really helpful for us have been, one, just connecting us with the athletes. We offered this to 200 female athletes at FAU. There's no way with, internally we'd be able to handle something like that. And they've been super helpful in just getting us in front of the right people. And again, making sure that we're doing things the right way. And then another thing I think that they've been really helpful with is just the insights to what these athletes are looking for. We don't want to make an athlete do something that they're not comfortable with or that doesn't make sense to them. So they've kind of given us, like Dan, to your point about, consulting, they've given us a lot of guidance on what are some of the things that we should be offering to the athletes, how we should be framing things to them, so that they feel comfortable with working with us and connecting with our brand.
And Jake, do you work with your marketing team with them, or how did you set that up?
Yeah. So I work on like our business strategy team. So I was kind of been on the ground floor with Dreamfield and with our executive team and making kind of like the overall strategy. And then from there, I've pretty much handed off to our marketing team, specifically our social media team, because the way we're kind of working with athletes is more of like a social media influencer play. So I've, kind of passed it off to them. And then, on Corey's team, we've all connected and just, put together the term sheet, kind of what we expect from the athletes, and then kind of give the athletes some guidance on our brand and things to do and not to do. But yeah, our marketing team is pretty much running point on everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Dan, so a lot of times what we see is, obviously the Florida Panthers or a different company or brand have certain things or metrics that they would like to see happen with the athletes. So we make sure that the athletes understand, okay, if you're going to accept this deal, these are the things that you must do, right? Here are the things that they want this hashtag, they want this to be said on this time or this date. We will also make sure, like we're right now working through how do we get these individual full teams to a Panthers game, right? So now we're working through with compliance, but also with team captains to say, okay, here are the dates I'm going to go attend. I'm just making this up. The Florida Panthers against the New York Islanders, right? We're going to come to this game, and then while you're there, you should be posting X amount of times while you're there at the game, whether it's a story, an in-feed, like an actual Instagram post, and we're making sure that all those things are understood. The athlete does what it's supposed to do, and then once the athlete completes the job and they go to a game, in this situation, when they attend a game, an in-person event, hit the social media metrics, we will then release the funds to the athlete to make sure they get paid as well. So we want to make sure that the business actually has the money to pay the athlete and come through on the contract, and also that the athlete completes the job that they contracted to do. And then once that happens and everyone kind of checks those boxes, we then go ahead and release the funds and make sure that the athletes get paid.
Thank you.
So again, when it comes to a small restaurant or maybe a kind of a boutique hotel, something like that, that I know a lot of your membership comes from, it's definitely helpful to at least put someone between you guys and your business and the athlete to make sure you have that level of protection. And that is, I think, where a lot of individuals have found value in Dreamfield, where they look at us as kind of like a real estate agent. We know the marketplace, we know the athletes, we know the agents, we know where to find them. We know what they're asking for. We know what their typical rates are going to be. As this evolves, we get more and more data and analytics on it and show that, okay, someone may come in and say, yeah, I would like the quarterback at Ole Miss in Alabama, but I want to pay him $400. Probably not going to work, right? But if that's your budget, we can go ahead and offer, maybe it's not the University of Alabama, or if you really want the University of Alabama, maybe it's this other athlete, maybe it's someone else over there, maybe it's the gymnast at Alabama who happens to probably have just as many Instagram followers as the quarterback, but is not getting the attention that they rightfully deserve, but also not getting the attention that the quarterback at Alabama is getting, the general media attention, but you can still get that same social media influencing and reach at a very hyper-targeted local level. So I think that's where Dreamfield is bringing a lot of value. And like you said, Dan, we are offering to any one of our clients, if you need to, we have ways for us to contact every one of us. We'll tell you, we'll know exactly what the state law is. We got a call. I know Jake on this call, my Jake in Dreamfield, we got a call asking, what do we know about the University of Kentucky? First things first, let's go and let's research exactly what the Kentucky law says. What are some of the team rules that we've been able to compile at the University of Kentucky says? And then let's back into what those numbers probably look like from dealing with some of these agents and some of the athletes at the University of Kentucky. So yeah, we're nationwide, even though we're based here in Florida. The company's based out of Orlando. I'm personally in Fort Lauderdale. Jake's up in the Panhandle. We do have national reach. We have 2 individuals on a flight right now going to Wyoming to onboard the entire Wyoming football team for a very cool, another cryptocurrency deal that Jake was instrumental in. Just on Friday, we onboarded almost the entire Florida Gators football team as well for a team-wide deal with another cryptocurrency called Lift Token. So now we have almost the entire Florida Gators football program on Dreamfield. You can go on there with one click and hire any one of them.
Thank you. I got kind of an oddball question. Maybe it didn't. If I was a restaurant and I wanted to do a fundraiser for American Red Cross, can I go out there and you find me an athlete that would kind of help me promote that? Is that in your wheelhouse?
Yeah, and we have done that. We've done that with a few. There's a company that comes to mind, Brandon. It's called White Flag app. It's a mental health app that just launched, and they came to us. And, we really want to work with certain athletes that have either spoken about mental health, dealt with their own mental health as well. Right away, gymnasts came to mind. Olympic athletes came to mind, just coming out of the Tokyo Olympics. So the first athlete, we said, all right, let's try to see how we can think about this together and procure some athletes that fit your budget. So before you know it, we had a University of Florida bronze medal track athlete as a member, signed up right away. We put the campaign out. We had people apply because the athletes will get a notification on their app, on their phone, that says, hey, a new campaign that you qualify for is available. They can see it. They can apply directly through their phone. We got a list of athletes. We went to them and said, look, you have a bronze medal track athlete at the University of Florida. You have a linebacker at the University of Alabama. You've got a wide receiver at Northwestern. You have a gymnast. I'm drawing a blank on the school now that just launched. So the possibilities are endless, and we provided all those athletes to them, and they right away turned around and picked some athletes and said, these ones we want to work with, and slowly rolling out this campaign over time on social media.
Thank you. I have one last question for Jake Schreiber. Jake, if you had some any recommendations for listeners on this Zoom, what would you recommend? Any advice?
Good question. I would say to first understand what your goal is, and then working with a company like Dreamfield, getting with those athletes that can kind of meet those goals. I think, like I said before, I think the most powerful thing with working with these athletes is the brand ambassador influencer approach, because again, it's just so much more impactful when it comes from a person versus you as the restaurant or us as a hockey team talking about ourselves. So I would highly recommend going that route, because also anytime you're doing anything digital, especially through social media, you're able to track and see those results. So, you can easily justify, the cost of, acquiring the athlete by going back at the end of the campaign and reviewing, the metrics. So yeah, starting with, what is your goal, and then figuring out which athletes kind of make sense to fit that goal, and then tracking it along the way.
Thank you. Corey, back to you.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is I'm actually going to turn it over to my Jake, because we actually worked with Jake, kind of negotiating some of these deals over time, and then eventually our relationship grew, and we actually just fell in love with Jake, and actually, he just came on board full time with Dreamfield about 2 weeks ago. So maybe Jake, if you can even describe what you heard on the back end as well in working with Dreamfield from July 1st until you came on board with us, kind of what you saw on the back end with some of these cryptocurrencies, and we ran some of these team-wide deals like at Florida State University. Maybe you have some insight, and maybe you could share kind of what you saw, what you heard, and where the value was for the people you were bringing to us.
Yeah, no, for sure. So going back to when I initially didn't even know how to even reach a team deal, because that's what originally, let's say Yummy Crypto wanted. They wanted to fund an entire college football team. And of course, that led to so much press, but we didn't know how to do that. It would have been a nightmare. There would have been no way to actually make that happen. I happened to get in touch with McKenzie, who happened to be a founder in Dreamfield, and it was like a 2-week process of really defining what the goals and what we wanted with that campaign for Yummy. And it led to so much earned press with, it got featured in Sports Illustrated. Every single time one of those players would post, Yummy would see an uptick in Google Analytics. So, I mean, the whole approach of, especially if you want to do a team deal, which what I was finding a lot of the cryptos were wanting to do, it would have, between compliance, reaching out to the athletes, it wasn't working for them. It would have been nearly impossible. So from my perspective, Dreamfield was huge. That's why, I'm working with you guys now, because I see the value, and I continue to see the value, and I have calls every day with not only cryptos. There's been other, blockchain companies, and there's just been, direct to consumer companies. There's been a lot that want to do these kind of deals, but get lost in the point of, okay, I have this idea, so let's make it happen, between reaching out to the athlete, the actual payment. Is this compliant? Because the last thing a company, especially a crypto company, wants is any trouble with legalities. And that was huge for them, because, they're already something that's a bit of a hot button topic. So when you combine NIL with something like crypto, it just was like, we need somebody to kind of be the middleman on this to help out. And it just so happened that, Dreamfield had the tech and the reach. So that was my experience with it. It's been something that I can say that I know people that are trying to do it right now, internally, and trying to not even do team deals, just trying to do multiplayer deals. And I've never seen one come to fruition. So that's what I can speak of on that, Corey.
And thanks for that. Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's a couple individuals that we spoke to early on that wanted to do a team-wide deal, and we said, hey, do you know what you're doing? You know the complexities of all these things. No, we got it. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, they're calling us back up and saying, no, we don't got it. And we really kind of do need some assistance, some help with it. And then this way, we've begun kind of taking over some of those contracts, end up running the contracts through us anyways. And it makes sense from a compliance standpoint. It really is something that just makes your life a lot easier. We don't want to replace your marketing team. We want to be a tool for your marketing team to make this much more efficient. And with that, Ashley, I'll turn it back to you. And I think that's all we got.
Ashley on mute. Well, Corey, I want to thank you and Jake for coming on. Very informative, and I hope a lot of folks listen to this in the future. And great information. You guys done a phenomenal job. Thank you. Ashley, you have anything else?
No, that's it. We really appreciate your time. And like I said, I'll share the recording later today with you guys and post it on our YouTube page, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.